It's Thursday. Almost said Friday. Um, about 1:10, and it is the 25th of January, 2024. And I almost said 2025. So I'm way ahead of schedule. Who knows what's going to be happening in 2025? However, it's a good thing to start talking about is the future, sort of. I don't give a whole lot of attention to the future, probably much to the uh, chagrin of family and friends who think I should. I know back in the day, my parents certainly believed that I should, that I didn't spend enough time. However, in the future, I want to talk about in this sense is it's been mentioned quite a few times by my YouTube friends that my subscribers have grown, um, happily so, for me, because I wanted to grow my channel. It's become a creative project for me. It's become an extension of my own creativity, I should say. That because I'm not doing it as a project, like I'm developing the all the little things that you can do on a channel. I know nothing about editing. I know nothing about soundtracks or camera angles or thumbnails or anything like that. Um, what I do know, or at least I know a bit, is myself. And I know that when I am feeling creative about something in particular, that um, becomes exciting. It becomes a focus. And I pursue it with a certain amount of energy that is reserved for such occasions. That's what my YouTube channel has become. But again, as an extension of myself, because um, it's basically me talking and working out. But, it's me working out and talking. It's me reading the stuff that I've been writing for years and years. So, in a way, in the hashtags, um, often I'll put vlog, and it really is just an extension of the blog that I've been keeping and writing for ever since I came online late in life, um, like 1999, 2000, thereabouts. And I had the same creative energy towards my blog, I got it monetized, hoping to write and share the things that I'm passionate about, putting it out there, my own unique writing style. And I have a small but um, enthused audience as far as my writing. And if I can manage to do the same on YouTube, which again, the only thing different between my blog and YouTube is one, being able to go live and actually engage with friends, which has been a wonderful experience. I look forward to it every day, obviously, as I've been doing it every day since July, I believe, without missing a day. Some days are short, some days are longer. Um, that depends on one, whatever sparks the conversation. If I feel like I'm on a roll, I'll just keep on going. And two, uh, my friends show up and they really help engage the conversation in an amazing way. So that all depends on the length. And other than that, I'm doing burpees and I'm talking afterwards. I'm sharing some breath work, some pranayama, some ideas about yoga, uh, things along those lines. Uh, our friend Odom's Homestead is here. He's saying, "Hey, how are you, Odom? How are you doing today?" Speaking of going live, this is your day to go live, right? This is your I forget what you call it. Get it off your chest. So I've made it a few times. Um, it has fallen at some times when I've been indisposed, but hopefully I will make it again soon. Yep, 8 p.m. Central, which I think is 7 here. And honestly, that is just about the time I'm heading to bed. I go to bed pretty early. I've mentioned before, I'm up at 3 o'clock in the morning, most often a little earlier. And so I try to get in bed, get settled. I read for a bit. Um, Bed preparation is actually part of my, well, sleep hygiene in general, but bed preparation, being in bed, I should say sleep preparation, um, is actually part of a spiritual practice. It's the time to read uh, the, we can call it spiritual classics. I mean, we can call them holy texts if we want, but for me, it's across the board. It's not just books that are considered scriptures, but books that have a deep spiritual um, context to it. Odom says, I understand. I don't care for that time, but a lot of people are going live on Thursday. Hey, we got to find the times that work best for us. And for me, that really seems to be just about 1 o'clock or so. And half an hour, 40 minutes seems to be about the best. I have been told by much more successful, virtually everyone's more successful um, YouTubers that strive to go live for an hour, and that way, if people tune in, I guess it increases the watch time. But for me, going live is just a more personal experience of being able to um, share my thoughts and also at least read the thoughts of others. Always happy if someone wants to go live with me and actually have an actual conversation. So I put that out there for anyone who watches who thinks, hey, I would like to talk with Eric, or I'd like to put Eric in his place, shut him up once and for all, um, or any of the above, or if they have any ideas of their own. It would be fun to have that type of conversation. Ideally, I'd love to have a podcast and just sit down with my YouTube friends and even some non YouTube friends and have a 30-minute conversation. Odom says he used to get a lot of people on Thursday, about 60 to 70 people. Now just 20, sometimes 30. Hey, that's still pretty good numbers. Um, I think I might have hit over 10 once, which was a lot for me. So as far as I'm concerned, anyone who shows up is worth having the conversation with. It's, again, it's about creativity, and you just keep putting creative content out. Whatever is creative for you doesn't have to match anyone else's opinion or feeling of what you should do and how you should do it. Um, obviously, I could use a good uh, channel designer to sort of set me up. And I've had people send me emails and offer that they would get me CEO ready, um, which I have no idea what any of that means. And I understand it will help my channel, but I don't know, maybe in the future. I don't want to get overly involved in details. I want to stick with the things that bring me joy, that feed my passion, uh, and put my heart in it. And that's the basics. That's just coming here and having conversations, um, stuff like that. Let's see. Odom says, I still get nervous going live. I don't so much get nervous going live as sometimes I wonder what I'm going to say. Odom says, me too, but I can't see spending money when I'm not making money. There's two ways to look at it. One is that way, and the other is the old saying, you got to spend money to make money. And I'm all for that if I can swing it. But I don't know if that's what I want to do. I just kind of like the thought of being discovered. That somebody says, hey, there's some half naked bald guy in his basement doing burpees, and every once in a while he says something that might be worth listening to. Maybe we should tune in. And I don't know if that's possible. I don't, I sort of thought that maybe YouTube was that last place where someone can achieve something without really investing anything other than their own energy. And I don't know if that's still the case or not. I don't know. Maybe it was never the case, except at the beginning when the very first person took a video of their cat doing something funny and said, hey, I'm going to post this and see what happens. And it started a huge trend. Odom says, still got you running. Have to meet for a few minutes till I get back to my office. Okay. I will continue talking. And maybe I'll actually make more sense muted than unmuted. We'll also see how long we'll keep up the conversation for today. Lately, it has been sort of monopolized by the thoughts of the YouTube channel, the YouTube experience. But again, not in that way of being consumed where I have to do this, I have to make it something. It's more the, again, diving into that energy of what can I do? How can we make this something uniquely me? And is uniquely me worthwhile to anyone else? Our friend Destiny, Forever Walks PhD, is here. And she says, happy Thursdays and blessings. And I always mention this whenever I talk about these type of things. I mention Odom's channel, which again, I absolutely love. And more than anything, I love the idea of Odom's channel. That's somebody just doing what they love and being so passionate about it. And it's such a beautiful thing. Working with the earth, working with living things, planting things and watching them grow. To me, it's one of the most amazing and beautiful things that you can actually engage in. And then I always mention Destiny as well. And the beauty of her channel is she simply shares her passion and her joy. And people respond because she is so sincere, so genuine that you can't help but respond. You can't help but be touched by that energy. And, for me, man, when you can do that, there's magic there. And you want to get a little of that magic and see if you can continue it. Destiny is asking, how am I? I'm doing pretty well, although I had a slight setback with my back. I also had a slight little emotional health glitch in the system, which I sort of alluded to this morning, but I'm still cruising along nicely, taking everything in stride. Odom is on pause or mute as he's getting back to the office. So he'll be back to let you know how he's doing. This is a big YouTube day for Odom. He goes live on his channel. He said 8 p.m. Central Time, which I believe is the same time as you. I don't often catch him live because I'm usually getting ready for bed right around that time. And part of my sleep hygiene, which is extremely valuable and important to me, is getting off, shutting down electronics, getting the light from screens away from the eyes, getting the mind to start settling down. Um, let's see. Destiny says, "Thanks, Eric, for the kind and inspiring remarks. You're quite welcome." And she says that she is praying for my back to heal and recover immediately. Thank you. I appreciate that. Um, I was on the verge, if I were to be asked how my back was doing, up until uh, up until 2 or 3 days ago, I would have said about 60% there, 60% healed. And then the last 2 days, it might have gone down to about 50. And then today, it felt like there was a big, for whatever reason, setback. And I never know what that is. I just step in a certain direction, or I shift in a certain direction, and something will shift along with me, but in the opposite direction. And it'll take a little while to get back into place. It's been close to 2 months. This is the longest I've had anything that felt like it might incapacitate me in any way as far as mobility in decades. I've always, you can't work out fairly intensely without having some tweaks here and there. But overall, I've been very fortunate, and I've earned that fortune by doing lots of mobility work, by making sure that I warm up, by lots of yoga, staying loose, staying limber, watching my diet, not putting on any extra weight whatsoever, as any weight that you have to carry, especially as you get older, is weight that you're placing on your joints, you're placing on your nervous system, you're placing on your heart, you're making your digestive system work harder, your blood pressure has to go up even a little bit to support that extra weight. So I've often heard, as you get older, you should put on some weight, you should put on some, specifically muscle, because in case there's an emergency, if you're in a hospital bed, you end up losing a lot of muscle, so you don't want that to happen. To minimize that, put on some extra muscle, but that is also muscle that you have to carry around daily. And you do need muscle, and you want to keep as much as you can, but you also want it to be usable muscle, serviceable. You don't want it to be just extra weight for the sense of having extra weight. Not at a certain age, at least. And especially not if you're thinking longevity. If you're thinking that I want to be as strong as fit. When I was 48, I started thinking I want to be as strong as fit as I am now in my 50s. And now in my 50s, I basically am, with the exception of what's going on with my back right now. But other than that, I have been as strong as fit as I was the past 2 decades. Before that, I was engaged in some different activities, lifting heavier, more interested in putting on size. So it was less of an issue. I didn't think of it. I didn't think in terms at 38 what I wanted to accomplish in my 40s. Not yet. Let's see. Destiny says, speak to that back and tell it who is in control. Man, heal thyself. I agree. And I do engage in positive self-talk for healing, as well as when I do my yoga nidra. It becomes a deeply healing modality that you can use to heal physical, emotional, all kinds of things, as well as really anywhere that you want your energy to take you, you can set that intention and you settle into the experience of Yoga Nidra, and it goes deeper than self-conscious, although your self-conscious mind does start to respond, but it goes deeper all the way to the energy of spirit that carries the intent throughout the universe. And the saying in yogic psychology is that as long as you hold it steady, as long as you place that, and it's called a sankalpa, which is Sanskrit for intention, as long as you place it in at the right time, and then of course you have to let it go. You can't keep uncovering it and seeing if it's working. If you enter that intention, that sankalpa, during Yoga Nidra, then the universe has to respond. Your body has to respond. Everything has to respond. That's the power of a true intent. Here's one thing that'll speak to Odom, is when you place your intent, if you worry about it, if you're constantly doubting, if you're constantly wondering, is it working, if you're peeking under the covers, it loses its steam, it loses its energy. And what it's likened to, and this is a part that Odom will relate to, it's like planting a seed. If you plant a tomato seed and you water it and you have it in the right location and you take care of it, you can expect a tomato plant. But if you keep digging it up every day and looking, checking that seed, is it sprouting? Is it getting tomato-ish plant-like? Then it will never grow because you're disturbing the process. You have to trust the universe. You have to trust God. You have to trust spirit. You have to trust your own subconscious, that it knows things that consciously we don't. Because we're dealing with our thoughts, and our thoughts are all over the place. Which is why we need to bring our thoughts around to a particular way to get a particular result. However, the subconscious doesn't deal in thought, so it doesn't have to do that. You just have to let it alone. You just plant that seed, and you can nourish it with positive thoughts. You can nourish it with positive people surrounding you, which is what the three of us are doing right now, which makes these conversations so valuable, because we're each nourishing that seed of intent for each other. And I'm going to put something out there, even though he's not here visiting, Paradox, that, I'm going to take a moment to send positive thoughts to Paradox's, not just his channel, but his podcast, which the few times I'm able to catch it, and I can't watch the whole thing because I'm not a member yet, it would be nice to, is how much passion he puts in that project and how much he knows all about hip-hop, specifically that particular time in the 1990s. And it's infectious when you listen to him talk and you listen to that passion. You can't help but think he's going to be a success, because no one can have that kind of passion for that project and not be a success. And two, you sort of give a silent nod of appreciation and wish great success for what he's doing. And I feel the same way when I watch Odom's channel, because I can't tell you how much I appreciate watching someone who loves what they do so much. And I feel the same way when I watch Destiny's channel, and she's just, one, filled with joy doing what she's doing, but two, putting out valuable information for people. I mean, valuable to the point, it's health changing, life changing. So, and there's many others as well with their creative content on YouTube, as well as people who are just using it in their channels as a way of holding themselves accountable and hoping that maybe they can inspire one or two people to get up and get in a few reps of something, to say, hey, I wouldn't mind doing that. Burpees look like a lot of fun. I can tell you they're not a lot of fun, but they're worth doing. So, I'm going to throw in Osiris's channel. Um, Somebody who just loves, um, someone who just loves what they're doing, exploring new ways of doing it, and maybe again inspiring some people. We have a friend here who has asked me Trump or Biden. I'm going to go out on a limb. I'm going to say Trump and Biden. I'll let you decide who should be president and who should be vice president. I'm going for the Trump Biden ticket in 2024. I think probably if you listen to my conversation today and anytime in the past, you could decide for yourself. You might be wrong. You might not be. Let's see. Trump, Destiny says, and Eric likewise, thank you. Thanks for all the love and joy to your channel. And thanks for your knowledge and wisdom. Thank you a lot. Lewis is here, and he says, God, which is a good point. And his handle, God above all, sums it up perfectly. And we got some welcomes coming from Lewis. Lewis says, there's no damn man that's going to change this world. I agree, although I think we can be instruments. As St. Francis said in his prayer, Lord, make me an instrument of thy peace. And we can act through the will of God. But you know what? It takes work on learning how to listen. Not to confuse what we want, our demands, what we think is right, with what is the will of God. Because sometimes they're two different things, and we confuse the issue. This is why in the Psalms they say, be still and know that I am God, as well as Herman Melville saying silence is the only voice of God. It's also why every spiritual leader, every great spiritual figure went off into the wilderness to get quiet, to return to nature, to hear that voice of God, and then coming back. If you're listening to your own chatter, if you're listening to your own ego, I can tell you right now, you're wrong. Because it's why they say you can't serve God and mammon. And we'll replace mammon with you can't serve God and ego. Lewis says, unfortunately, Eric, these politicians are rocket of the minds. Let's not forget these things must come to pass. Amen. Man, I agree with you about the politicians. And that's because, again, they're listening to the voice of the ego. It's a very rare politician that has learned to listen to the voice of spirit. And the sad thing is, I think the two might be sort of opposed to each other. That if you're truly listening to that silent voice of spirit, it almost dictates that you can't be a politician because you have to compromise yourself. And when you're listening to the voice of spirit, you can compromise with other people, but you can't compromise with yourself. You can't compromise with spirit. Lewis says, it is what it is. Sorry, it says, Satan be pissing me off lately. I need your prayer, guys. Definitely, for sure, you have my prayers, Lewis. and you know that the prayers continue even after we sign off for the day. That you know the love, the positive thoughts, the prayer, the energy continues even after we sign off for a long session of a live session. Lewis says, I don't know. I've been feeling some kind of weird, some kind of way, and I got to shake it off. Sorry, and you will. I have no doubt whatsoever. I have no doubt that your energy, that your energy and your connection, um, the love you have in your heart, that you're definitely going to shake it off in no time at all. I think you are one burpee session away of returning to your best, returning to your center. Destiny says, sending prayers up for you, Lewis, as well as I am, and deeply so. Always happy to pull together and to give a moment of silent prayer to a friend, for sure. So, yeah, sadly, I just don't know if the two can come together, politics and spirit. They should. If you read the Tao Te Ching, the Tao Te Ching gets very political, and they tell you what type of leader. That a leader, you should barely know that they're present. You should barely know that they're getting anything done because it's all done in silence. It's not done for the sake of gaining attention. Hey, look at me, look what I've done. You should Google some of that up. For those unfamiliar with the Tao Te Ching, of course, the Tao means the way. The Tao Te Ching itself, the book of the way, is the second most translated book ever, with a curse, which of course the Bible being number one. Anytime I have the opportunity to Google up quotes, you guys know how much I enjoy bringing up the quotes that I've been reading forever. My entire life has been preparing me for this conversation. My entire life has been preparing me for every conversation that we have. For whatever reason, I read a book 40 years ago, and a quote stayed in my mind, and you can bring it up. You never know when it's going to be the perfect thing. Let's see. Let's go with the on leadership. Here we go. This is one that I was talking about. Lao Tzu, who is the author of the Tao Te Ching. Many believe that he was not a single figure, but a group, many people, the wisdom pulled together. Some say that he was actually someone who, much like Lewis, someone who's disenfranchised with politics and how life is going right now, and decided to head out of town, and he was stopped at the gate, and the gatekeeper said, I understand why you want to leave, and you're free to leave, but could you please leave some words of guidance before you do? And that's how the Tao Te Ching came about. Lewis says that he's going to start my burpees, and I will have you on in the background, Eric. Is that okay? That's fine. Thank you. Probably just going to talk for another 10 minutes or so. So I don't want to interrupt your flow at all. Also, I most definitely don't want to interrupt your soundtrack. Before I go into the Tao, let me put it out there. Let me tell anyone who joins in that for me, it is what it is. The channel, it is what it is indistinguishable from the intensity of Lewis's reps and the soundtrack. It all blends together um, in the perfect expression of what a burpee session should be. Um, I don't know if you spend time putting in thought, this is what I'm going to play today, or if it's just an intuitive, or, you know, I'm just going to play whatever. But whatever it is, you definitely have a knack for it. It is perfect the way that you, however you come about picking what you pick. Perfect. Few others, great soundtracks as well. And of course, you can't go wrong listening to the Jay Jordan's soundtrack, because you're getting it right from the source, right there. So, Lao Tzu, he emphasizes this point by stating, this is on leadership, the leader is best when people barely know he exists. Not so good when people obey and acclaim him. Worse when they despise him. It means you're not a very effective leader. When it's all about obey and acclaim, it's not about people anymore. It's about what the leader wants. People are being led and they're not being guided. When the leader himself, as Lao Tzu was saying, people barely know he exists because he's getting things done, because he's working with spirit, because he is guiding people. He's not insisting, he's not pushing, but he's leading, gently so. When it's all about obedience and it's all about acclaim, then again, you're not being a leader. And when you're despised, it means that you have lost that quiet leadership that is so essential and important to truly be able to get things done. Going on, he says, in other words, a true leader is one who sets the example for others to follow rather than relying on their position or power to command. So, a true leader, he's setting the example for others to follow. I always keep that in mind. Anyone in any position that I might vote for, is he or she an example of who I would like to be, of who I would like my children, stepchild in my case, to be? It's a good question to ask. And that is from the Tao Te Ching. Here they're talking about Taoism, which is the teachings of the Tao, proposes that reality is a created thing, which means that leaders have the power to choose how they react to given circumstances. Don't know as I necessarily agree with that. It always comes back to me, the very first stanza of the Tao Te Ching is the Tao that can be told is not the true Tao. So to hear quotes about the Tao sometimes confuses the issue because you are going against the very first refrain of the Tao Te Ching. It's the same way in the Hebrew practice of not spelling out the entire word God because they don't want to make God an ideal. They don't want to make God a thing, an object. God is the ineffable, the spirit that holds spirit, the spirit of all things, the spirit that moves through all things, the spirit that animates all things. So what does that leave out? Absolutely nothing. So if you make it into this concrete image, it's also why um, in the Bible they tell us not to worship golden calves, not to worship false idols. Not because there's anything inherently bad about doing so, but that it is false. It's the same way in A Course in Miracles when they talk about words, descriptions, that words are symbols twice removed. They're not the actuality of the thing. Also, why they say in schools of psychology, the map is not the territory. You can't get anywhere by reading a map. You get directions, but to get anywhere, you have to take a step. You got to have your foot on the ground. You have to move your feet. You have to swing your arms. You have to breathe. You have to have the actuality of travel, not the symbolism of a map. So that's the Tao Te Ching, more or less. The Tao is again, uh, the energy of isness, the energy that moves through all things. We align ourselves with the Tao, and we live a life of spirituality, a life of purpose, a life of love, a life of wholeness, a life of dexterity, meaning that we learn to pivot with the circumstances. We're not bogged down. Our energy keeps moving. And when we're aligned, we get the leadership that we deserve. When we're not aligned, we get the leadership we deserve. So, as Lewis said, no man's going to fix it. No politician's going to fix it, because a politician is just going to be a reflection of where we are in our lives right now. If our lives are steeped in hatred and trouble and bias and prejudice, that's the leader that we get. If our life is steeped in love and the energy of creativity and passion, that's the leader we're going to get. But it takes each of us. So that's why it's important to have these conversations, to be able to reach out and to everyone, not just those who agree with us, and not to push away those who disagree with us. Always turn within, find out what's true for you, not the voice of the ego. Be still and know your connection to God. And then speak, and then reach out. It's the Zen story of the scholar who had studied Buddhism but never actually practiced it. And he met a Zen master. And the Zen master asked him if he would like a cup of tea. And the scholar said, sure. And proceeded during the tea making to tell the Zen master everything he knew about Buddhism and everything he knew about Zen. And he just kept talking and talking and talking. And the Zen master continued to pour the tea until the tea overflowed the cup and the hot water touched his hand, and the scholar threw it aside, and he said, what are you doing? My cup is full. You can't put anything more in there. And the Zen master smiled and said, yes, I know. And that's why we can't continue this conversation, because you are full of your ideas, you are full of your thoughts, you are full of your ego, and you can't hold anything that I have to offer you. You're too full. We need to empty our minds, we need to empty our hearts, and when we do, that's when God comes in. So, Lewis says, 42 pumps completed. Thanks, Garrett. I needed this. You're welcome. Man, it's your hard work and your passion that sees you through. Happy to see the return of the 2-pump. Things are going in the right direction. What I found is things can't go in the right direction physically unless back to alignment, unless I'm aligned spiritually, unless I'm aligned emotionally. Um, but I can work with any of those to help bring myself back in alignment. Sometimes when I give myself physically to something, everything falls into place. Sometimes when I give myself spiritually to something, everything falls into place, including physically. Wayne Dyer wrote a book 2 decades ago. There's a spiritual solution to everything. And it's a very apt title, and I agree with it. You have a problem in your life, don't just think that it's a physical problem. At its core, it's a spiritual problem. It needs to be addressed that way. We got a friend here that says that they're sad. Sorry to hear that. Hope you feel better. So, all right, guys, we're going to shut it down for the day. Appreciate you guys coming by and listening. Lewis is offering some prayers for White Warrior. And saying thank you, Eric. Have a blessed day, everyone. You too, Lewis. I'm looking forward to watching your 2 pumps coming up. Dog is here saying that's a perfect name, by the way, dog, because it doesn't get any better than a dog, in my opinion. If you want unconditional love, look towards your dog. Nothing but love comes from a dog. They say, have a good one, man. Thank you. You too. I'll see everyone tomorrow morning. We're going to do our burpees, and then we'll be back for another live session. Thanks for stopping by, everyone. I very much appreciate it. Take care.